dive. Today, we are stripping away all the high-level strategies and really getting down to the actual wiring of a successful life.
Yeah, we're not looking at big markets or global trends today.
No, not at all. We are doing a really granular analysis of, I think, the most intimate data point you can possibly get.
Which is what?
The 24-hour routine of two highly productive people.
That's right. Our source material for this deep dive is this almost forensic minute-by-minute account of the daily lives of two friends. We've got Mike, who's operating out of New York City, and Sarah, who is based in London.
And these self-reported schedules they've shared, they cover everything from the moment they wake up to, lights out. It's just a remarkable contrast.
It really is. It reveals two entirely distinct and this is the key, equally effective blueprints for managing, well, everything. Modern demands, health, social life.
It's a fascinating, almost voyeuristic glimpse, isn't it, into the sort of non-negotiable habits that form the bedrock of their days. We're going way beyond the generic advice of, wake up early. We're getting into the specifics, the exact timing, what they're eating, the media they consume, and the neurological intent behind every single choice.
And you can pretty much immediately categorize their approaches. Mike, he is all about what we could call a fixed schedule, high-intensity block model.
Okay, so structure is king for him.
Structure is paramount. His activities are physical, they're measurable, and his whole focus is on efficiency.
And Sarah?
Sarah is the opposite. She follows more of a fluid schedule, state-dependent activation model. She's prioritizing things like creativity, internal reflection, and environmental alignment over just pure speed.
It's so interesting because they have this history. They met years ago when Mike was traveling in Europe, and they've kept this connection going despite being in totally different worlds.
And I think that shared value of friendship really underscores an important idea. Structure isn't about isolating yourself. It's about creating the mental space for connection.
Right. So the mission here, as we analyze their day, is to answer a core question for you, the listener.
Exactly. How do these small, repeated, routine choices, everything from making the bed to managing blue light, how do they create the specific blueprint for a productive and fulfilling day for them?
And the idea is that we can extract the underlying mechanics so you can borrow not just the habits, but the logic behind them.
Yeah, the why.
Okay, let's unpack this. And I think we have to start at the most crucial point, the foundation of the day. This first hour, it's not just about waking up.
No, it's about setting the energy signature. It's about the intentionality for everything that comes after. And this is where we see that immediate divergence that really defines their two models.
How so?
Well, Mike seeks immediate external engagement. Sarah, on the other hand, seeks immediate internal calibration.
Okay, let's start with Mike in NYC. He is a 7 a.m. sharp riser. That's a quick transition from sleep to action right there, which takes discipline.
It does. But his very first reported action, and this is so common today, is checking his phone.
For messages and emails.
Right. That immediate engagement is a profound signal of his efficiency focus. He's basically sacrificing that really crucial, quiet, cognitive period you have right when you wake up.
He's plugging directly into the grid.
Exactly. The information grid emails, demands from other people, social notifications. He's immediately transitioning into a state of external responsiveness. This choice primes his sympathetic nervous system, getting him ready for that high-intensity day he has planned.
Wait, let's stop there for a second. Is this habit, which he himself acknowledges, isn't that a massive energy drain? Doesn't responding to other people's demands before you're even fully awake risk starting the day in a reactive posture instead of a proactive one?
It absolutely does. But within Mike's high-efficiency framework, he might see it as optimizing downtime.
How so?
He's front-loading low-level administrative processing, triaging emails, while his body is still technically resting. The payoff for him is immediate information acquisition. The cost is a total lack of mindful transition.
So it's a high-risk, high-reward approach.
Definitely. A high-risk, high-reward approach to productivity scheduling.
Okay, now let's contrast that sharply with Sarah in London. She gives herself an extra hour, waking up around 8 a.m.
And her first reported action is deeply intentional, and it's physical. She opens the curtains to let sunlight into her room.
That feels so important.
It's critical sleep hygiene. Sarah is prioritizing the natural reset of her circadian rhythm. Sunlight hitting the retina sends a signal directly to the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the brain.
which is like the body's master clock.
It is, and that signal immediately begins suppressing melatonin production. This is the physiological, internal clock-setting mechanism that Mike completely bypasses by jumping straight to the blue light of a screen. Sarah is grounding herself physically before she even thinks about engaging mentally.
And she follows that up by making her bed. She specifically says she views this, seemingly trivial task as an important small accomplishment to start the day.
And this is so much more than just tidiness. It's about cultivating immediate mastery over her environment. Psychologists call this a foundational habit, a really simple task that, when you do it consistently, reinforces the belief that you are capable of handling bigger tasks.
It builds momentum.
Exactly. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, Mike's approach is all about response to the outside world. Sarah's approach is about creating order and achieving an internal, immediate win that builds that momentum for the creative work she has to do later.
Okay, so moving into the prep phase of the morning, Mike keeps things very practical, but there's an interesting and deliberate physical conditioning tactic here.
The shower strategy.
Yeah, his shower strategy. It involves shifting between hot showers in the winter and cold showers in the summer.
This speaks directly to his underlying, you could almost call it a biohacking mindset. Cold exposure, even just for brief bursts, is a scientifically backed way to rapidly shift your physiological state.
Right, I've heard about this.
When you're exposed to cold water, the body releases a flood of norepinephrine, which is a powerful neurotransmitter and hormone that increases alertness, focus, and energy. It also activates the vagus nerve, which helps regulate your heart rate and your mood.
So his cold shower isn't just about waking up. It's about actively managing his neurochemistry before he even gets to the gym. It's like a quick, controlled stressor.
Precisely. And his clothing choice reflects pure utilitarianism. Jeans and a t-shirt, or sweatpants if he's working from home. There is zero decision fatigue wasted on picking an outfit.
He's minimizing cognitive overhead.
Exactly, for maximum output later in the day.
Now, Sarah's preparation is much more ritualized. She has a full skincare routine after her shower, and her clothing preferences are explicitly formal dresses or skirts with a nice blouse, even though she's a freelance writer working from home.
We can analyze this through the lens of something called enclothed cognition.
Enclothed cognition.
Yeah, it's a theory that suggests the clothes we wear actually influence our psychological processes. By dressing formally, Sarah is signaling professionalism and competence to herself.
Ah, so it's a mental trigger.
It is. She links this choice directly to boosting her confidence for the day ahead. Her wardrobe functions as a cognitive switch, transitioning her from her private, comfortable self to the professional, confident creator.
So, while Mike uses physical discomfort, the cold shower to force alertness, Sarah is using psychological congruence, the formal outfit, to embody professionalism.
The outcome is the same, preparation for focused work, but the methods are completely inverse.
Okay, let's talk breakfast. The nutritional strategies here are, again, just utterly reflective of their day's demands.
They really are. Mike's approach is all about speed and fuel, specifically for his upcoming gym session. He has scrambled eggs, toast with butter, and a cup of black coffee, and he does it all in about 15 minutes.
That is a classic high-protein short prep meal. It's optimized for muscle preservation and sustained energy. That protein is essential for recovery.
And consuming it pre or early post-workout optimizes what's called the anabolic window. Plus, the black coffee isn't just a stimulant, it's a performance enhancer, maximizing his physical output shortly after.
And he's still consuming information. While he's eating, he's watching the news or listening to a podcast, specifically history and science.
Which means breakfast is a period of stacking habits. He's doing simultaneous physical fueling and intellectual input. It maximizes his efficiency, but it completely sacrifices any opportunity for, reflective eating. He is constantly trying to maximize every single spare minute.
Now contrast that with Sarah. Her breakfast is traditional, it's comfort-focused, and critically, it's slower.
Much slower. She's a dedicated English breakfast tea drinker, and she takes it with milk and a little sugar. The tea ritual itself just slows the whole pace down.
And her food choices.
Yeah.
Yogurt with granola and fresh berries, or porridge with honey, which she calls very British.
It is very British. And these are traditional warming comfort foods. Porridge, or oatmeal, is a complex carbohydrate, so it offers a slower, steadier release of energy compared to Mike's immediate protein and fat hit. It helps her avoid that rapid insulin spike that might hinder her focus later.
Here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Mike is using breakfast as a rapid metabolic trigger for performance. Sarah using breakfast as this cultural, comforting anchor to establish internal calm before she tackles complex intellectual work.
The two meals just perfectly illustrate the difference between fueling a high-output body block and supporting a sustained, reflective, cognitive block.
And you can see the cultural influences too, can't you? Mike's speedy grab-and-go efficiency is classic New York.
And Sarah's devotion to the traditional, comforting, and time-intensive porridge and tea, that reflects a very specific, slower London pace that perfectly supports her creative profession.
Okay, so with that foundation set, we move into the core production block of the day. And for Mike, this is a highly disciplined physical investment scheduled precisely when most corporate workers are just, settling in at their desks.
Mike's routine is fixed. It's non-negotiable. He walks 10 minutes to his gym, fitness first, deliberately getting fresh air and some light movement into the commute. It creates a sort of mental transition zone.
And this 90-minute session is the engine of his entire day.
It really is.
That duration, an hour and a half, including warm-up and cool-down, that tells you this is serious training, not just casual fitness. He's following what looks like a structured periodization schedule.
Yeah, 20 minutes of cardio on the treadmill, then targeted weightlifting arms, chest, legs, and sometimes the rowing machine. It's a comprehensive, balanced demand on his system.
So the intention here is what? Systematic stress and recovery.
It's systematic stress application and recovery management. By scheduling this heavy physical drain in the morning, he achieves two critical outcomes. First, the intensity maximizes the release of endorphins.
Right, the feel-good hormones.
Exactly, which he cites as being responsible for his mood boost. Endorphins are natural opioids that mask pain and induce euphoria, essentially priming his brain with positivity and elevated focus for the cognitive tasks that come later.
And secondly?
Secondly, it's a brilliant way to manage stress and potential frustration. The gym serves as a displaced aggression outlet for him. Any simmering tension or need for mental stimulation gets channeled into measurable physical output. By exhausting his body, he leaves his mind clear and ready for sedentary work later.
So the rigor of this gym session is actually Mike's primary tool for achieving mental clarity. It's like his self-prescribed drug for optimized focus.
And the consistency, 2 years at the same gym, that just underscores how reliable this structure is for him.
Okay, so Sarah's core activity is the inverse. It's flexible, intellectual, and sustained. She's a freelance writer, 5 years in, working from a small office in her apartment, creating content for various magazines and websites.
Her professional model just aligns perfectly with her reflective morning routine. The appeal she highlights, flexibility, schedule control, and choosing her own projects, is the complete antithesis of Mike's structured life.
She needs that control.
She needs it because creative work, particularly writing, often requires deep, uninterrupted concentration. You have to get into that state of flow.
And today she's working on an article about sustainable living and reducing environmental impact. That choice seems key.
It's very key. Since she's choosing projects based on her own interest, she maximizes her intrinsic motivation. She's not just hitting a deadline, she's engaging with a topic that aligns with her stated values, which we already saw reflected in her economical lunch choices.
The big challenge for a freelancer, though, is internal accountability. You don't have a boss or a fixed schedule.
Exactly. Therefore, those internal routines we analyzed, the sunlight, making the bed, the formal clothes, they have to replace that external accountability. Her work quality is directly linked to her ability to self-regulate and maintain focus without the benefit of, physical exhaustion to clear her mind.
Which raises an important question. Given the immense cognitive demands of deep writing, we have to look at the function of Sarah's pre-work movement. That 30 minutes she dedicates to light exercise, yoga, or stretching before she starts writing.
Right. How does this preparation differ functionally from Mike's intensive strength training?
Well, the difference is in the purpose of the movement. Mike's exercise is about stress induction, muscle failure, stimulating growth and endurance. Sarah's is about activation and centering.
Exactly. Yoga and stretching are low impact. They're focused on proprioception, that's body awareness, and breath control.
It's not about metabolic stress. It's more about mobilizing her spine and hips, which can get really tight when you're sitting for long periods.
It's a physical preparation to ensure that when she does sit down for hours of writing, she won't be distracted by physical discomfort. Functionally, this is what you could call movement snacking.
Movement snacking.
Yeah, short bursts of activity designed to improve blood flow, reducing the potential for that mental fog that comes with sedentary work.
So, to put it simply, Mike uses the gym to drain physical energy so he can sit still. Sarah uses light movement to prime her body for comfortable stillness and sustained cognitive function.
That's a perfect summary. Her goal is neurological readiness and comfort. His goal is metabolic and structural overhaul. They both get the mind-body link, but they time their physical interventions inversely to suit their primary job.
Okay, so by the early afternoon, their initial work blocks are done and the need for lunch hits. And again, their strategies are completely dictated by their occupational rhythm.
Right. Mike needs rapid recovery. Sarah needs sustained health and economy.
Let's start with Mike's post-workout meal.
Mike's lunch choice is basically non-negotiable because of his morning. He is driven by that post-workout hunger and the absolute necessity of immediate recovery. This is all about maximizing the anabolic window.
That's the period after strength training when your muscle cells are most receptive to protein, right? For repairing growth.
That's the one. And his meal today, a homemade chicken salad with grilled chicken breast, lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, a light vinaigrette. It's a textbook example of performance nutrition.
High in lean protein, low in simple sugars, rich in micronutrients from the veggies. The focus on balance ensures he's replenishing glycogen stores while prioritizing muscle synthesis.
It's a highly efficient meal. It's quick to assemble, quick to eat, and has a maximal impact on his physical state. It shows a profound respect for the physiological costs of his training. For him, food is purely fuel.
There's no room for culinary complexity when recovery is the only thing that matters.
Not at all. And it also helps reduce that afternoon energy slump. By focusing on protein and complex carbs from vegetables rather than heavy starches or sugars, he maintains the stability he needs to transition back into the intellectual part of his day without crashing.
Okay, so Sarah's lunchtime strategy. It's underpinned by a different set of values: health, economy, and, crucially, sustainability.
Yeah, she cooks at home during the week because, as she says, it is healthier and more economical. Her meal vegetable soup with bread is deeply practical and reflects a focus on resource management.
She specifically says she uses ingredients that need to be used: carrots, celery, onions, potatoes.
This is what I'd call frugal sophistication. It's not just about saving money. It's an active rejection of food waste, which connects directly back to the theme she writes about, like sustainable living.
So there's a consistency there.
A total internalized consistency between her values, her profession, and her daily habits. A simple, warm soup requires minimal active prep time during the workday, letting her get back to her desk quickly.
So Mike is prioritizing maximizing his physical state at any cost, whereas Sarah prioritizes maximizing value, time, and sustainability.
Both are disciplined, but their definition of efficiency is completely different.
Which brings us to a critical behavioral insight. Discipline is often maintained not through endless restriction, but through planned exceptions.
The treat meal.
The treat meal. Sarah, despite her weekday frugality, treats herself on weekends by visiting a local Italian restaurant.
This is a deliberate, budgeted reward system. It reinforces her ability to stick to her healthy routine the rest of the week. And the restaurant is detailed. Bella Italia on High Street, number 42. By attaching the reward to a specific location and specific food, the anticipation becomes a motivating factor.
And her favorite dishes, spaghetti carbonara, and she emphasizes authentic ingredients, and tiramisu are the definition of rich, classic comfort foods.
They're the exact opposite of her weekday soup. High in fat, complex carbs, and sugar. The psychological concept here is planned hedonic adaptation. If you always eat rich food, it loses its pleasure. By restricting her pleasure consumption to this one high-quality planned weekly event, she maximizes the psychological reward while minimizing the disruption to her overall health.
That's a conscious consumption.
Totally. Mike maximizing recovery, Sarah maximizing value. It's the hallmark of effective self-management. They know when to be strict and when to truly enjoy the reward.
Okay, the afternoon. The afternoon slump is a real thing, right? A physiological phenomenon, decreased alertness.
Yeah.
Both Mike and Sarah combat this not with more work, but with intentional restorative activities, though their definition of restorative is wildly different.
That's putting it mildly. Sarah's afternoon involves an intentional change of scenery. She takes a significant trip to the Central City Library, which she describes beautifully as this peaceful, inspiring place with high ceilings and large windows.
That intentional shift is so crucial for someone who works remotely, especially a creative. She's practicing environmental novelty.
Yes, exactly. Changing your physical space can stimulate new thought patterns and prevent that cognitive stagnation you get from staring at the same four walls all day. The library acts as a productive third space for her.
And her goal there is active. She's looking for books about cooking and new recipes.
which connects her primary workday writing to her core hobby cooking. Her writing about sustainability finds a practical expression in her recipes. It creates this lovely feedback loop between her intellectual work and her home life.
The logistics reveal her practical nature, too. It's a 25-minute bus ride or a 40-minute walk. And she chooses the bus specifically because she anticipates borrowing up to 10 books.
And she correctly reasons that carrying a huge stack of heavy books for 40 minutes is just counterproductive. That's a great example of optimizing your physical effort for the task at hand.
And the detail about the library being a comprehensive resource, magazines, newspapers, DVDs, it really highlights the enduring power of community learning centers.
It does. Sarah uses this free resource not just for entertainment, but as a critical input to fuel her creativity, underlining her commitment to lifelong, sustainable learning.
Okay, Mike's afternoon antidote to the slump is purely social. He meets his university friend David at 3 p.m. at the Daily Grind downtown. For someone with such a structured, solo day, the individual workout, the efficient fueling, this planned connection is his essential afternoon buffer.
Social connection is a powerful physiological restorative. Engaging in a meaningful conversation, especially with a longtime friend like David, helps regulate emotional stress. It facilitates the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, which counteracts the cortisol that was likely elevated by his intense morning.
So it's the opposite of Sarah's library trip. She goes inward to gather knowledge. He goes outward to reaffirm social bonds.
Both are essential for holistic well-being, but Mike prioritizes that external relationship maintenance in his afternoon window.
And his coffee preferences, they align with his pragmatic nature. Usually a simple Americano.
Pure caffeine delivery. Efficient, uncomplicated. The occasional sweet caramel latte is a bit like Sarah's weekend splurge, a planned, rare deviation from the norm.
And Sarah's preference for a cappuccino, loving the foam, brings us back to that appreciation she has for aesthetics and process.
It does. She likes the visual element, the texture. Her aesthetic appreciation even extends to a discussion of latte art. You know, the hearts and leaves created by skilled baristas. She values the craft, just as she values the 30 minutes of stirring for her risotto.
It's an appreciation of slow, skilled creation.
Which contrasts perfectly with Mike's quick-draw caffeine intake.
So while they diverge on their afternoon activities, they both share this deep commitment to continuous education. Mike, the fitness and science fan, actively pursues a new language every evening.
Spanish, yeah. This 30-minute session using a language learning app focusing on vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation is fascinating. It's an example of deliberate practice. It's aimed at maintaining cognitive reserve and challenging brain plasticity later in life.
And learning a foreign language engages multiple areas of the brain.
It does, improving executive function and memory retrieval.
But I have to ask,
Yeah.
isn't 30 minutes on an app relatively superficial?
Well, this raises an important question. It really depends on the methodology of the app. If it uses principles like spaced repetition, which is highly effective for vocabulary acquisition, that 30 minutes can be incredibly high yield.
So he's not aiming for fluency overnight.
No, but for consistent, low-dose exposure that keeps his mind agile, he recognizes that it's challenging, which is precisely why it's rewarding. He is actively seeking a productive cognitive struggle.
And this commitment to an intellectual challenge right before winding down, it kind of parallels the listener's own journey of learning new, complex topics.
It does. It shows that personal growth shouldn't stop just because the workday is over. It's an integral part of Mike's overall self-optimization cycle.
All right, the final segment of the day, winding down. This is so crucial for preparing the body and mind for restorative sleep.
And we see their differences manifest yet again in their culinary habits and their media consumption as they move toward rest.
So dinner preparation.
Mike gets home around 5 p.m., and he's prioritizing speed, flavor, and macronutrient utility for dinner. Tonight's meal is an Asian-inspired stir-fry. Vegetables, rice, and teriyaki chicken.
That's a perfect example of rapid culinary execution. Stir-frying is fast, it uses fresh ingredients, and it lets him control the portion size and nutritional content.
The teriyaki sauce provides flavor and a quick source of simple carbs alongside the rice, refueling him without requiring a ton of kitchen time or mental engagement. It's high satisfaction, low effort food.
Sarah's approach, however, requires commitment. Tonight's meal is mushroom risotto, a classic comfort food, and she specifically notes that the prep requires about 30 minutes of stirring.
And that sounds...
30 minutes of standing at a stove, stirring sounds like a torture test after a full day of deep creative work. But I assume the purpose isn't just the delicious outcome.
You're absolutely right. This isn't a chore for her. It's a form of active meditation. The repetitive motor task of stirring, focusing on achieving that creamy texture, it forces her brain out of the high-level analytical thinking she used for writing.
Ah, so it's a transition tool.
It's a deliberate tool to decrease heart rate variability and transition the mind into a lower stress state. The finished product, the creamy, rich risotto finished with Parmesan and fresh herbs, is the physical manifestation of that patience and focus.
So Mike optimizes for time efficiency and nutrient delivery. Sarah optimizes for the therapeutic value of the preparation process itself.
Exactly. And following dinner, their relaxation choices reflect those same cognitive preferences. Mike's priorities are connectivity and continued education. He uses technology purposefully. He video calls his parents twice a week and texts his siblings almost daily to stay connected.
Which emphasizes the importance of maintaining emotional bandwidth alongside the physical and intellectual kind.
Absolutely. Distance relationships require scheduled effort, and Mike integrates that critical social maintenance directly into his routine.
And his media choice.
It's consistent with his morning podcasts, documentaries, specifically about space exploration. Even when he's relaxing, he seeks factual knowledge about the universe. This keeps his brain engaged in knowledge absorption without requiring active problem solving or, emotional investment.
Sarah, meanwhile, prioritizes domestic order first. She cleans up the kitchen immediately, saying she doesn't like leaving dishes overnight.
This commitment to preemptive tidiness is a key element of ensuring her morning starts without friction. The external clutter of the kitchen can translate directly into internal mental clutter if you leave it undone.
And her TV choice is a British detective series, Mystery in the Manor, which she describes as being like a puzzle.
This is high-quality escapism that still engages her brain's need for pattern recognition and narrative resolution. She seeks a fictional mystery to unravel. Mike seeks factual, cosmic knowledge. Both are using media purposefully to stimulate different cognitive functions.
Okay, the final non-negotiable step. Sleep preparation. They both recognize how critical this is for productivity and health. Sarah aims for 10:30 p.m., Mike for 11 p.m.
Sarah's relaxing routine is, it's the gold standard of sleep hygiene. First, she turns off all electronic devices to avoid blue light interference.
Which inhibits melatonin release, right?
Right, it delays the signal that the body needs to go to sleep. And then she elevates the routine with a warm bath using lavender bath salts.
And the science here is pretty straightforward, but effective.
Very. A warm bath increases your core body temperature, and the subsequent rapid cooling when you get out mimics the natural drop in temperature the body needs to initiate sleep. The lavender oil just helps calm the nervous system. It's a deliberate, multisensory process designed to signal to her body that the day is absolutely over.
It's moving her from that focused creative state to the restorative sleep state.
Perfectly put.
Mike's routine is simpler, but just as intentional. He always reads for 20 to 30 minutes. Right now, he's into a science fiction novel about time travel.
And he notes that the book sometimes keeps him awake because he wants to know what happens next.
Which is a risk he accepts.
It's a risk he accepts. Writing is a highly effective way to disengage from daily stressors. For Mike, reading fiction, specifically science fiction, serves as a psychological bridge, forcing his mind to focus on an invented world instead of the day's tasks.
And Sarah does the same, reading a historical novel set in Victorian England. She says books transport you to different times and places.
They're both achieving that essential dissociation required before you can rest. The shared reading habit, a physical book, away from screens, is the final commonality in their otherwise divergent schedules. It's the intentional cap on the day's intellectual input.
Ensuring the last 30 minutes before sleep are dedicated to low-stakes narrative consumption.
So what we've analyzed today is not just a description of two successful people, it's really an exploration of the underlying structural logic that sustains them. We've seen Mike, the fixed schedule, high-intensity block model, optimized for efficiency, physical output, and measurable results.
And we've seen Sarah, the fluid schedule, state-dependent activation model, optimized for creativity, self-reflection, and sustainable, intentional living. She manages her day through internal cues and by shaping her environment.
And our final synthesis really shows that both models successfully integrate work, physical health, continuous learning, and social life. But they do it by executing these elements at completely different points in the day and with completely different intentions.
So the key is structural integrity, not just imitation.
Exactly. And that integrity is cemented by the final act of the day, reflection. Sarah consciously practices gratitude, focusing on 3 good things that happened. It's a powerful technique for reducing anxiety and making sure she enters sleep in a positive emotional state.
And Mike, the optimizer, he processes through journaling, writing about actions he took, feelings he experienced, lessons he learned.
He's transforming his daily events into actionable data for self-improvement, which completes his structured cycle.
So both methods serve the same essential purpose: clearing the mind, consolidating the day's experiences, and making them ready for deep, restorative sleep. The structure doesn't end until the moment they close their eyes.
Which I think raises an important question for everyone listening. Given the immense power of these highly specific, intentional routines we've seen, what one small, consistent habit?
Whether it's Mike's 30 minutes of language learning or Sarah's 30 minutes of therapeutic risotto stirring.
What's that one habit you could identify and implement tonight to improve the intentionality of your own routine tomorrow? Find the habit that serves your unique energy curve.
Find your personal blueprint, whether you lean toward fixed structure or fluid reflection. Thank you for diving deep with us today.